This is Gene Monterostelli, and welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast recorded live to tape from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is a special announcement for July 6th, 2020. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever time of day you get a chance to listen to this. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Today, I have an announcement about a new program that I am doing that's going to help you to get a lot more out of your tapping practice. And the context of this comes from recognizing the fact that just because tapping is something that is easy to explain, tune into an issue, tap on tapping points, you get relief, it doesn't mean that it is always simple to get results quickly or effectively. And so that is the point in when we start getting into the art of delivery. Almost every single tapping training in the world that you are ever going to see, even though it might be called a tapping training, most of it is about the art of delivery. And when we talk about the art of delivery, we're not just talking about working with a client. There's also the art of delivery in how we use tapping on our own. And examples or ways that I know that I'm doing a really good job with that art of delivery is, for example, when I'm working with a client and we're doing some work and after a round of tapping, they say something like, "Oh my gosh, Gene, it's like you're inside of my head and you know exactly what I'm thinking." That comes from understanding the transformational process and then being able to use EFT, delivering it in an artful way. Another example of art of delivery, I was working with a client a couple of weeks ago who was having a leg and a hip issue. And it was something that was very, very painful to the point that it prevented her from walking more than a half a mile at any given moment. And she's someone who's an outdoorsy and likes to hike and do all of those things. And so in a traditional sense, we would tune into the pain, we'd tap on the pain, this pain in my knee, this pain in my knee, this pain in my knee. Instead, I asked her 3 questions, and after asking these 3 questions, we uncovered something from a work situation in the 80s, that once we were able to clean that up, not only did the pain go away, but it hasn't returned a number of weeks later. And so either way would have given us some relief. But when we are delivering it in an artful way, it gives us the opportunity to get results quicker in a deeper fashion. This isn't just when we're working with clients, but this is also when we're tapping on our own for our own issues. That I'm using, for example, when I am tapping every single morning, I'm using the exact same tools with myself that I'm using with my clients. And so the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to be teaching this in a 2-day training that I'm actually doing 3 different times at the end of August and the beginning of September. And for those of you who are in New Zealand, Australia, Asia, Hawaii, I want you to listen very closely because I have something special for you inside of this because you sometimes get the short straw when it comes to live trainings. So it's a 2-day training, and the way the training is structured is the sessions are going to be, I'm going to teach the concepts, I'm going to demo the concepts with someone in the class, and then you're going to have the opportunity in small groups to be able to try the technique out where you're going to get a chance to be the practitioner leading someone, the client having someone lead you through it, and an observer. And so by rotating it through in these little groups of 3, you're going to get an opportunity to see it from all 3 angles. Then after you do that, we're going to get back in a large group and we're going to answer questions so you can go deeper inside of that. So with each of the concepts, with each of the ideas as we move through this, over the 2 days, you're going to get a chance to learn, watch the demonstration, and then experience it yourself, which is going to give you an opportunity to really engage with the information in a really deep way. Now, there are 5 ways over the course of 2 days that I'm going to be doing this. The first is the 20 truths about transformation and healing. For me, there are fundamentals that underline everything that I do as a practitioner. You hear me talking about in the podcast all of the time. But when we understand these fundamentals, we understand how the healing process works, and we understand how to make transformation happen at a much faster pace. And so these 20 truths are going to become a foundation that you're just going to integrate in so that as you approach a problem, you're going to do it in a really simple, direct way. The second thing that we're going to do in the training is I'm going to teach you RCAT. Now, RCAT, I've mentioned it before in the newsletter and on the podcast. A number of years ago, 2 years ago, I sat down and I took all of the things that I do in my client sessions, I modeled them, and I created a little procedure that you can follow on your own. And I've created scripts, and I've created worksheets, and I've created the audio training for it. And as shorthand, it has always sat in my notes as RCAT, the really kick-ass technique, because I couldn't think of a better name, because that's exactly what it does. So the second thing we're going to do over this training, in the Art of Delivery training, is I'm going to teach you every single part of RCAT, and I'm going to walk you through it step by step so you can see when I constructed this multi-part, do-it-yourself, follow-along procedure, not only how to do it, but what is sitting behind it. The third thing we're going to do is the third section is going to be on mastering healing vocabulary. And the words that we use when we are working with a client or when we're dissecting our particular own issues become really important. And so I'm going to teach you not only how I ask questions, but the vocabulary that I listen to when my clients are talking, which are actually the keys to what the real issue is. Because we emotionally respond not to how we understand the world, but how we describe the world. And so there are hints inside of the language that we use as to what is really underlying what is going on, which is going to unlock the healing process. So that's mastering healing vocabulary. The fourth thing we're going to do is lessons from the healing masters. Over the course of doing a podcast for 11 years and interviewing a bunch of amazing people, going to trainings, reading, consuming as much content as I can, I've learned some really specific lessons from some of my favorite practitioners. And so I'm going to share the best of the best with you so you can learn those as well without having to sift through the entire podcast archive or without having to go to lots and lots of trainings. The last thing, and this is going to be the bulk of the second day, is I'm going to teach you how I use parts work. And it is the most powerful tool I have in my tapping arsenal, again, even when I'm just doing work on my own. And it is the tool that I use the absolute most. And so I'm not just going to teach you the basics of parts work and how I do it. I'm going to teach it to you through three lenses. We're going to do parts mediation, we're going to do guided imagery, and we're going to do inner child work. And even if you just learn those three things from this training, the training would be well worth it because it will transform the way that you do it. So again, over the course of 2 days, there's going to be 9 instructional sessions. There's going to be 5 on Saturday and 4 on Sunday. On Saturday after dinner, there's a bonus session where it's going to be an AMA, Ask Me Anything, where you can ask me about tapping issues, but how I run my business, how I manage my life, any of those things. If you have a question, I'm going to answer it. And it's just an opportunity to get an opportunity to engage with that stuff a unique way. Now, I'm doing it 3 different weekends, and each weekend the training is exactly the same. I'm doing it the weekend of August 22nd. I'm doing it the weekend of August 29th, and I'm doing it the weekend of September 5th and 6th. Now, each of the weekends, and I told the folks in the Oceania region to pay attention to this, each of the weekends, I'm starting at a different time. So the weekend of August 22nd and 23rd, the class is going to start at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. So this time, this weekend, is geared towards the people in the eastern half of North America and anybody who is in Europe or Africa. The second weekend, the weekend of August 29th and 30th, I'm going to start it at 9 a.m. Pacific. So this is for the folks in the western half of North America, folks in Latin America, and anybody who is more of a night owl person on the East Coast can join that weekend. The last weekend, the weekend of September 5th and 6th, I'm actually doing a training that is going to work specifically for the people who live in Asia, Australia, and New Zealand. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay up late so you don't have to. So the event is going to start if you are in the Hong Kong or Western Australian time zone at 8 a.m. If you are in Eastern Australia, it's going to start at 10 a.m. And if you're in New Zealand, it's going to start at noon. I think the people on that side of the world oftentimes get the short straw when it comes to live trainings. And so I wanted to create one specifically for you at those times so you weren't the one having to stay up all night. If you happen to be in Hawaii, this is also a really great time for you to join us because it actually starts in the afternoon on Friday. And so you can do it Friday afternoon and Saturday afternoon. Now, you can sign up for any of the weekends that you want. I'm actually noticing a number of folks from the West Coast have signed up already when I released it this morning for the East Coast time because they're early morning people. And I have people on the East Coast who have signed up for the West Coast times just because they would rather start their day a little later. So you don't have to live in that region to select those dates, but you can go whenever you want. There's lots more details and lots more information. All you need to do is go to tappingartofdelivery.com. tappingartofdelivery.com. If you look down at your smartphone in the notes of the podcast that you are listening to, you will see a link inside of the show notes so you can go there. If you have any questions, you can just email me, Gene, Gene, at tappingqna.com. And until August 10th, I am offering the program, the training for half price if, when you check out, you use the discount code podcast. So you go to the coupon area and just click podcast. So tappingartofdelivery.com for all of the details on the event, all the bonuses, exactly what we're covering inside of the event. You can sign up right there. You also have the opportunity to look at the time zones to see what makes the most sense for you. Use the discount code podcast to receive 50% off. And if you have any questions at all, email me directly. I will happily answer those questions for you so we can figure out the best way to make this work for you. For the Tapping Q&A podcast, this is Gene Montrastelli. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye-bye. The Tapping Q&A podcast is copyright Gene Montrastelli Tapping Q&A. All views expressed by guests are those of the guests and not necessarily of Gene Montrastelli and Tapping Q&A.